And we would like to welcome into the Oklahoman's video studio this lady right here, Jill Castilla, the president and CEO of Citizens Bank of Edmond. It's great to meet you. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, great to meet you.
This is the first time we've actually had a conversation in the past 5 minutes or so getting set up here. I'm going to start off with a compliment, though, for you.
Okay.
Because
that's always good.
I don't know you, yet I kind of know you through social media, which is one of the things we're going to talk about with the things that you do in the banking industry, and you rely a lot on community building and social media. How do you keep up the good rep?
Well, I think it's
because these days of snarkiness in social media.
Yeah, I think you embrace the snarkiness and you just try to be authentic and genuine and positive with how you respond. But being accessible, you do open yourself up to maybe negative comments or some doubt about maybe what your intentions are about being out in the social space. But once you really just kind of wholeheartedly jump in, you embrace the negativity if it's there, and there's very little of it. It's mostly a lot of community building, networks of supporters and advocates for one another, and it's been just an exhilarating and very positive experience for me to be engaged in social media.
Good for you. I think authenticity, which is impossible for me to say apparently, really is the key word when it comes to social media.
It completely is, and there's so much to be gained. I mean, in life, when you're authentic and being out in the social space is no different. So when you're putting your kind of authentic self out there, you're telling your business story, what you're out there in social space to do, you connect with individuals and you find those that are like-minded, and you can develop synergies and partnerships that you wouldn't be able to do without social.
Well, putting yourself out there and being available to the community, one of the things we're going to talk about, of course, the Citizens Bank of Edmond is behind the, as you can see behind us, Hurd on Hurd event, and the next one of those is coming up this Saturday. In fact, there's only one more beyond this Saturday in October. It's the third Saturday of each month, I believe.
Yes.
How did this start?
This started 4 years ago, and we saw the magic of H&H. We were a sponsor there, really engaged with the community that was putting together H&H in Midtown. And we started receiving demands from the Edmond public saying, we want something like here.
We don't want to drive straight to the urban core. We should do it here in Edmond.
They love H&H. They weren't looking at replacing that, but saying, the suburbs need something nice too. And so we started collaborating with those that were putting on that wonderful food truck event. They were so giving and giving us information, lessons learned and such. We also saw Allison Barta Bailey and what she's done with the holiday pop-up shops.
Right.
And thought, wow, that'd be something really neat to integrate into our food truck event to celebrate small business. And then there's a bank in Ann Arbor, Michigan that does a summer concert series, and we thought, well, that would be so cool if we could have something like that in downtown Edmond, an area that I just love and think of as the soul of Edmond and just a crown jewel of our little suburb. And I really wanted to highlight the beauty of downtown Edmond, the diversity in our small businesses, give it a shot of adrenaline to kind of even highlight it more so maybe others would want to have their shops there in our downtown. And it just kind of magically came together. And I have a wonderful board and a team at Citizens Bank that didn't think it was too crazy of an idea to abandon.
Jill, really? Really?
Yeah, initially we had to beg a few trucks to go up there. They had not done well in Edmond previously, and
Gotcha.
So about 5 of them said, we'll jump off this ledge with you. And H&H folks were able to really kind of connect us with some really good operators. And then we got some pop-up shops and 3 bands and rented a stage, and the food truck sold out within the first hour. The pop-up shops.
Good business for everybody.
Yes, and so everyone, one of my downtown Edmond neighbors came up to me that day and said, welcome to downtown Edmond 2.0. And that's really what it was about, was not changing downtown Edmond, but just creating a sense of relevancy, community, synergy, so that others would be attracted to that area of town.
So H&H has come and gone. Now it's a yearly festival versus the monthly.
Here.
How are you able to keep going?
We have our staff, our 50 staff members at Citizens Bank of Edmond plan Hurd on Hurd, but they really listen to public comments, our customers, the food truck providers, pop-up shops. They all really come together and let us know what's going well and what's not going well. And it's a very well organized event, but we're able to collaborate with the universities in Edmond, some of the other nonprofits in Edmond that have now kind of changed the face of it every month, so it's just a little bit different.
I was going to ask you, how has it kind of evolved?
Yeah, so now we have 36 food trucks versus those first 5, with a waiting list of those that want to participate. Over a dozen pop-up shops that are there, and a waiting list of bands that want to play the venue. And I think that wholesome goodness of a neighborhood block party and rubbing elbows with your neighbors and seeing folks from around the metro that you maybe don't run into every once in a while. Now you're seeing them with their grandkids or their parents.
There's something about that, isn't it?
There is.
Isn't there?
There is. And now, like my 15-year-old daughter, she's like, Hurd on Hurd's this weekend, right? And
She's looking
texting
forward
her
to it.
friends. Yeah, and they're meeting each other there. And so it's becoming this multi-generational place to gather. And we miss that. I think we can think of social media as being a replacement for that community, but really it can complement it so well. So I think it brings that nostalgia back to what we yearn for kind of in social media, to engage with others, get to know one another, socialize, eat great food, listen to great music together.
Talking with Jill Castilla, she's the president and CEO of Citizens Bank of Edmond. They are presenting Hurd on Hurd coming up this Saturday. You mentioned bands, Harumph from Norman, as Keisha tells us.
Yes.
Kylie Laney.
Yes.
Nosebleed Sound, I got that right?
Yes, Nosebleed Sound. So,
yes, okay.
And bring your
they're
Kleenexes.
They're the headliners.
They are, and
They
they're
will be
supposed to be
rocking hard.
amazing. All local bands. We work with Scott Booker, who's
Sure.
an incredible nose for talent, speaking of Nosebleed.
Well done.
You know, running ACM at UCO, and so he's able to really inject some incredible local talent. Some that
Such
made
as
it.
the teacup square dancers.
Yes, we do have the square dancers this year, and
Have you ever square danced?
they are a hit. I have square
You
dance.
have?
Yeah.
Will you be joining them?
I probably will jump in there for a few
Nice.
dances. So, and most people do. I mean, it is, again, kind of goes to get back to just kind of good old-fashioned fun, and that everybody's welcome, and that sense of inclusiveness. And so, yeah, sure. Are you going to come and square dance too?
I'm actually in town this weekend, so I might.
I'm telling you, I think it's definitely on it
No
should
one
be a
wants to
to-do
see
list.
me square dance or any other kind of dance for that matter.
We will be videoing it. So.
Right. Speaking of social media, right?
Yes, yeah, you have to share.
How did you get into the banking business?
I got into the banking business. I was in the Army.
I was about to say you have a military background, right?
Military-
Army National Guard.
Yes, and so we were moving back to Oklahoma, and I got in a finance degree, and so went to work at Citizens Bank of Edmond, funny enough, in the bookkeeping department, and then applied for my dream job at the Federal Reserve Bank of Kansas City and worked there for a decade, and then
wow.
a community bank in northern Minnesota, and then had the opportunity to come back to Citizens 8 years ago. So. I grew up in Okmulgee, Oklahoma, and had a wonderful banking family there that really inspired me to go to college and supported me throughout my career. And I always hoped to kind of be able to give back to my community in the same way that they gave back to me. So,
Well, we've talked about how Hurd on Hurd has evolved over the past 4 years. What have you seen in the past 8 years at Citizens Bank in Edmond, and how the banking industry has evolved?
yeah, so when I came back 8 years ago, Citizens Bank of Edmond was actually in troubled condition. And so leading that turnaround of the
National
bank.
economy wasn't great.
The economy was
around that time.
struggling. Yeah, so it was a different dynamic. It was all about survival and how do we ensure that this bank that's been here for 110 years, since 1901, can go on to tomorrow. And since we overcame that great recession and that challenge for our institution, we now have this resiliency that this bank has had for its whole lifespan as it's gone through booms and busts. To say we want to be around for another 116 years. So how do we stay relevant to make that happen with the influence of technology and just changing preferences of consumer and the accessibility to different banking methods? So we decided to really focus on technology, make our in-bank experience better than anyone, and then do the same when it comes to technology. So now we developed our own technology, and our bank sells that to other banks around the country.
So you've developed a B2B business.
We did, and we're about to open a spot in Midtown Oklahoma City that is the first of its kind in the nation, deploying technology that's never been used in banking before.
In what way?
Well, we'll be able to take small businesses, will be able to come in through a self-service mechanism and be able to exchange 20s for 5s and 1s at bars that need rolled coin.
Gotcha.
Can go and get the rolled coin, and they're able to do this 24/7 rather than having to stick to normal banking business hours. And so we're listening to our customers, which I think is something as bankers has been a challenge for us to do in the past because we haven't had social media or easy ways to converse with customers that aren't walking through the lobby. And so using those different mechanisms, you find out what customers need and can be more responsive, and as a result be more relevant and hopefully have that enduring quality for the next 116 years.
That is interesting, what you said right there. The face-to-face probably has changed a little bit because people want to do mobile banking, they want to do drive-through banking versus
Right.
coming into the lobby, speaking with someone.
Oh, so our lobby is crazy busy. So you'll have to come by sometime because you'll typically see 20 people in the lobby. But our whole mantra is to be accessible. So every single banker is on the first floor of our bank, and I'm accessible. Our CFO is, our loan assistants, everyone is, the customer can see and talk to the person that they're talking to on the phone or exchanging messages on social media. So I think that gives some assurances that my money is, there's someone accountable for my money. And technology is wonderful, but it can fail. And as humans, we can fail too, but if you are able to have quality on both ends and you have a person that's accountable to you and you know that I can text the president and CEO of the bank at midnight on Saturday and I'm going to get a response about a fee I may have seen or a transaction that looks suspicious or that my card was frozen, I need it unfrozen, to be able to be responsive to them in off hours and be able to use social media and other ways to connect with customers to get that information, I think then makes it where banking even becomes more personal than it ever was before, even though we have technology to support us that makes it much different than maybe what it was 10 years ago.
I can see that. It can completely change someone's bad weekend into, okay, I feel much better about this situation. I lost my debit card, whatever.
Yes.
I know Jill or somebody's
Yes.
is handling this.
Yes.
I mentioned social media off the top and your good reputation, but I follow you on social media and I see you speaking quite a bit around the country.
Yeah, we actually even speak internationally. It's been really amazing. We've been spoken to groups in Europe and Mexico and then coast to coast in the U.S.
What do they want to hear from you?
So we talk with banking associations, technology, financial technology association, consumer groups about leadership in banking, leadership through businesses that are challenged, like banking can be because of changing regulation, often oppressive regulation, and changing technology. And how do you stay relevant? How do you lead a team through that? How do you lead customers through that? Our lessons learned, I don't have all the answers, so I get a lot of information too about what we can do better. But mainly it's about how does banking stay relevant? What technologies are available to you? Can banks innovate? And if they can innovate, how do you go about doing that? How do you partner with technology companies to be able to provide bigger and better solutions? You were a real little guy in the pond, and there's behemoth banks out there that have scores of developers, and we have the capability, we believe, to compete directly and actually be better than them in technology and in service and even products that we provide. And so to be able to spread that gospel to other bankers in similar position, we're hoping to empower and really give more credibility to the small town banker versus thinking that you can only get the good stuff if you go to the big banks.
You're more nimble, more flexible. You're not trying to turn the battleship.
Oh, nimbleness and scrappiness, just like any small business, that's how you survive. And that's how you evolve to meet customer needs, which is the epicenter of being a successful small business, which is what we are.
I was looking at some headlines about Bitcoin and then beyond that, the blockchain technology. And sure enough, on your social media channel, apparently you were speaking about blockchain technology to some people. So you really are kind of staying on at least what might be on the industry horizon.
We are firmly engaged with the financial technology communities and even regulatory communities that are engaged with that as well, in discussions about the evolving payments mechanisms for the entire nation and into the world. We're right in the middle of those conversations too, even just being this small community bank of 50 people. And I think that's just not being intimidated by technology and being able to fully embrace it and being willing to learn and humble enough to know that I don't know everything. But you look at virtual currencies, it's the future of our world, and then blockchain, the ability to have a general ledger system in which you're exchanging information that's validated, so you're giving now credibility to the virtual currencies. I mean, that's going to revolutionize my industry. So I can't be ignorant of it. I need to make sure I understand it and can evolve to meet the needs and expectations of customers that are going to expect that from me at some point in time.
I'm sure security is important to your customers as well.
Definitely.
Which that could play into.
Yes, so which is why I don't offer Bitcoin services right now. But
Probably
you have to
smart,
be, yeah. So you have to understand what it is, but then also make sure that you're never sacrificing security of a customer. You're never sacrificing that they don't understand where their money is and that it's safe and that the transactions are occurring in a safe manner. And so you can innovate to a certain point on maybe how you get to the customer, how the customer can get to you, but payments and the actual behind the scenes of how money transactions work, you have to be very thoughtful before we start changing those to just meet technology demands. It's going to be something that is evolved, and there's going to be a tipping point in which Bitcoin is some part of everyone's language or some version of that.
Some version of that, sure. You like what you do?
Oh my gosh, I love it. So I think you can tell when someone really loves something.
Sounds like he has some passion.
And I feel like an entrepreneur, that this is my small business, and I'm trying to operate in a highly competitive business in which I probably shouldn't survive, and that and I have to then up my game, and our team has to be fully engaged and passionate about what we do in order to fully serve our customers and do a good job and create happy shareholders that want this bank to last for the next 200 years, create a community in which wants to invest social capital in us and them, so we can create a better Edmond, a better Metro, and that we get to have the satisfaction of being part of that building.
You running for governor the next couple of years, 6 years or so?
No politics in the future. Yeah, no. But the thing is I think small businesses have the way to make profound change without having to be any kind of appointed seat. I mean, we are the mechanisms and the drivers and the engines of this economy.
Jill Castilla, the president and CEO of Citizens Bank of Edmond. You can follow her on Twitter, Jill Castilla. You keep that nice and simple.
Yes.
More information online, citizensedmond.com.
Yes, and you can /Hurd on Hurd, and you'll get right to what's happening this weekend.
There it is. Pages all over it in there. Jill, it's great to meet you. I've enjoyed the conversation.
Yeah, nice talking with you.
Best of luck this weekend and with everything else.
Appreciate it. Thanks a lot.